Since we're attempting to put everything into one category for a week, I'm going to try to do one larger YouTube video to go with all the shorts instead of doing more of the mediums. We'll see how it goes. So, have you ever looked back on your favorite vacations and wonder why it stood out? Not where you went, not what you saw, but what actually made them feel different. For years, I assumed my favorite trips were my favorite because of the destination. It could have been Disney, Jamaica, hotel, food, memories that were made there. But after I was diagnosed with autism and ADHD, that period where you look back on everything and try to figure out why it was what it was, I started thinking about my favorite trips. And I looked at them through a completely different lens. And here's what I realized. The places necessarily isn't what made them special. I mean, yeah, it definitely helped. Tour in Jamaica, tour in Disney, and other places, it's the reason those little thing. But for those particular times, the common thread is that I unintentionally worked with my brain than against it. So for those of you who don't know me, my name's Heath. I've been diagnosed with autism and ADHD. I'm also a travel agent. And today I want to share what my 4 favorite vacations were and what they taught me about travel and why they completely changed how I plan trips today. So let's start with maybe the most surprising. One of my all-time favorite vacations was only 3 days. So I know you're going to say, wow, that's not enough. It's also going to show how spoiled I am because it had been like my 10th trip to Disney and it was fine. But here's what we did. We stayed at Disney's Polynesian resort, dream resort of mine. And everything revolved around one idea. We stayed on the monorail loop. All the restaurants were on the monorail loop, went to Ohana, went to 1800 Park Fair. We visited just Magic Kingdom and Epcot. We did not feel the need to see every attraction. In fact, we only spent a few hours at each park. At night, instead of fighting crowds for fireworks, we watched them from our balcony. There was absolutely no frantic schedule, no running from park to park, no obsession with maximizing every minute. And I love the Polynesian. It's my favorite resort. As an aside, sometimes you're scared that what you think will be your favorite won't live up to it, and it did in every way. And I thought that's what made the trip the best. But looking back, what I really think it was how simple it was. I had removed all friction. Almost every decision I made was one less thing my brain had to process. Now, it doesn't have to be for short trips. Because another similar Disney trip was one that was actually my longest. 9 days, Port Orleans Riverside, was before Reagan was born. And every day it kind of had a rhythm because it was 9 days. Every morning we'd walk over to the French Quarter and get beignets. And then usually we'd spend time in Epcot, go get lunch. We had lunch every day in Epcot. And only a few of those 9 days, I think we went to Animal Kingdom once, maybe DHS twice. And every night we went to Magic Kingdom. Now, we did all kinds of things we never did before with absolutely no pressure. We were living on the lam for the first time. But the schedule was not rigid. It was relaxed. We started late. We were intentional. We weren't constantly asking ourselves, what next? And we let ourselves not become overwhelmed. And also developing a routine really helped that. So, but routine not in a Disney way where everything had to be overplanned. But it was so nice. It was a routine within calmness, without expectation. So the short trip was great and the long trip was great. And a lot of the same things happened with Jamaica. I had a short trip to Montego Bay. Took Club Mobe, had a butler. The butler helped us make decisions. And being short and being the first time, it wasn't overwhelming. Got to do a lot of what we wanted. And it was great. Especially with the butlers, they didn't just reserve restaurants, they eliminated decisions. I didn't have to wonder where we should eat or think about reservations or spend mental energy planning every evening. The second trip, though, was interesting. We did not take Club Mobe because that was like our fourth time in Jamaica by then, and I felt okay about it. But we did have global entry, which I think we talked about before on the way back. Seamless. We still had a butler, which helped us plan every part of it. And we took business class on the way there. And the business class, it kept us fed, which was good. It took care of the bags, which was great. So everything, the butler, the business class, the club, between the two trips, the Club Mobe. Oh, and the second trip also. The spa treatment, we got 2 of them, and it was all relaxation. Everything we did was about reducing transitions and uncertainty and helping ourselves be able to get to the next thing without overthinking it. I mean, even the spa treatments weren't indulgent. They intentionally built recovery in. I didn't realize it, but a lot of these things that were luxuries on both trips, from Mobe to the spa, to the butler, to the business class, was giving ourselves a chance to ask our brain for less. And I admit in both cases it's hard to afford those, but I try my best to afford at least one of them on every trip, a second if I can. So, one of the biggest surprises in all of this is that I've become much more comfortable returning to places already visited. Obviously, you try to go to every place you can. And I know we've talked about repeat, but I've kind of maybe stopped trying to go to every place I can and focus on the ones that are good, the ones that treat me well. And it's because familiarity has value. Not having to learn stuff again. Transportation, restaurants are actually the second Jamaica trip. I actually returned to Royal Plantation, and I just felt like from the time I stepped out, I knew what to expect. I knew about the private beaches. Even when you read about stuff and study it, seeing it and knowing it is so much better. So the first day, didn't have to create a map. I knew it. And it doesn't make the trip boring. It makes it accessible. I think that's a perspective we don't talk enough about. Because travel culture is often all about, novelty. The newest destination, the newest experience, the biggest bucket list. Like, I know I talked to someone before that I said about going somewhere, just like, oh, I've already been there. But every new airport, every new menu, every new transportation system, every new hotel, and every new process requires attention. And for many neurodivergent travelers, that attention is not free. It requires energy. And the lack of energy makes for a more, like how the huge energy makes for a more enjoyable vacation, which makes up for any of the things that novelty gives you. Now, I still go for novelty, but I certainly love the idea of doing the same thing. So, looking back across all 4 of these favorite vacations, I did notice a pattern. Biggest pattern we're talking about. None of them were about doing the most. If anything, they were about leaving space. Space for staying on the balcony, space for taking time for breakfast, space for going back to the room, space to skip something if we wanted, and space to simply exist. Space to be us and not have to just do. And I think we've been taught that maximizing a vacation means maximizing activities. But the happiest memories oftentimes happen when I wasn't doing anything remarkable at all. Sometimes they happen while watching fireworks, or while eating breakfast, or taking a slow walk around a place I already knew. And maybe that's because my nervous system finally had enough time to breathe. One thing that I've learned when looking back and figuring out my autism and ADHD is that executive function doesn't disappear just because you're on vacation. In fact, vacations ask even more of it, like we constantly talk about. All the decisions we have to make. And there's so many of them. And they all wear us out. So if we can have someone else tell us where to eat, have someone else tell us where to go. If we have a built-in backup that we don't have to do something, and if we have even a structure of a schedule that happens on a lot of days, you reduce those demands instead of increasing them. And it doesn't eliminate decisions, it just removes enough that you could spend your energy on enjoying the experience. And this has completely changed how I plan travel today. I don't just ask where I want to go. I ask how the trip will feel, how many transitions are involved, how much uncertainty is built into the experience, will I have opportunities to recover, will I have enough familiarity in some way to feel comfortable. Even if it's similar restaurants, like in a Sandal Center, it's another resort. Those questions matter just as much as the destination itself. In fact, they might matter more. And the funny thing is that when I started thinking about this video, and I started to think, what did I want to say? I honestly was just saying, okay, I'm going to tell you about the 4 vacations. I didn't think at all about the similarities. And then I started to see them and discovering things about myself. That the resorts weren't the common denominator, or the location wasn't, the countries, the parks. What it was that it reduced friction, reduced decisions, reduced rushing, reduced uncertainty, and gave my brain permission to stop working so hard. And really, that's what we look for in so many places. We mask, we try to fit in, we are in overdrive. And we need to take times to give ourselves grace and let our brains not work so hard. And I think that's what I was actually remembering all along. The older I get, the less interested I am in vacations that demand everything from me. I'm much more interested in vacations that support me. Vacations that don't feel like I have to optimize every minute, and ones where I slow down without feeling guilt. I like going to and having an environment that works with my brain instead of constantly asking it to adapt. I like being able to be myself and let myself be enough. So this brings me to the thing that's most important, I realized. The best vacations aren't always the ones that give you the most experiences. Sometimes they're the ones that ask the least of you. And once I understood that, I stopped trying to travel in what many people think is the right way. Instead, I just tried to travel with what was like me. I hope you enjoyed this discussion today. I hope you enjoyed the longer video. If you'd like more conversations like it, or to view our other content across various platforms, or have me plan the next vacation of your dreams in a way that works with your brain instead of against it, visit yourneurodiveragenttravelaagent.com. I hope to see you there. Talk soon.